Tried and Blue. A play on the phrase tried and true, the Erland Tried and Blue blog and podcast covers past and current successes that prove how effective and reliable our construction management services are. Welcome to the Tried and Blue podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Harrison. Today I'll be talking with 3 Erland team members about what drew them to the construction industry and any advice they may have for those looking to join this exciting field. But before we get started, Kevin, Atiya, and Jimmy, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Kevin, you're up first.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Gately. I'm a superintendent at Erland Construction, typically in charge of an area of the building that I manage the day-to-day activities for that section. And I try to answer any questions from my trade partners, get out of most issues, and maintain schedule and flow as we progress through the building. I'm from Mubin, grew up there. I still live there. My off time, I hang out with my friends and family. My wife and I, we just had our first child in September, so I enjoy spending as much time as possible with them.
Thanks, Kevin. Atiya, you're next.
Atiya Rahim. I'm a project manager here at Erland. I have multiple roles, so I also serve on the Community Relations Committee. I was born in Cambridge, grew up between Lexington and the Somerville neighborhoods. If I wasn't home, I was at my grandparents' house in Somerville. Awesome. Thanks, Atiya. And last but not least, Jimmy.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Koshivas. I am a project superintendent for Erland. I'm from Franklin, and I was born and raised in Franklin. I do have a son, JP, who's 3, and I have another one expected in the summer. And I do have a dog. His name is Gunner as well.
Very nice. Thanks, Jimmy. I can't believe he's already 3. I flew by.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for letting us get to know you a little bit better. Now let's take that a step further. Kevin, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I grew up in a construction family, and so that was kind of always something I saw myself doing. It really kind of came to light after college, where it wasn't positive in the direction I wanted to go in. It was a fallback, but it ended up being something I made a career out of.
Thanks, Kevin. So Atiya's actually been on the podcast before, so I'm going to switch up her question. Atiya, we all know you love to travel. What's one of the best trips you've taken and why?
So, Nicole, you didn't lie about loving to travel. One of my favorite spots was Puerto Rico. I love the culture there, the food, the music, just the vibe that you got while you're on the island. I just enjoyed my time there. But I am actually traveling in the next 2 weeks. I'll be going to Bangladesh, so I'm excited for that as well.
I know we're all excited. You've been waiting to take this trip for so long, so we can't wait to see all your pictures and hear all about it when you get back. What about you, Jimmy? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I've always kind of been around construction, so I don't know. It's always something that I figured I'd be a part of. So either that or on the farm.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. Well, I guess your paths took you to the right place because you're all at Erland now, and I'm sure we could all use a vacation hearing about Atiya's travels. But let's get into today's discussion. So starting with Kevin, how long have you been in the AEC industry and how did you get your start in construction?
So I've been doing this full time for about 10 years at Erland for the past 4.5, but my father has a site work company, so he develops single family homes and townhomes. So I've definitely been involved from an early age.
Great. And Atiya, what about you?
So I've been in the industry for a little over 15 years. I started off in the industry as a co-op student through the Wentworth program and just kind of worked my way through where I am today.
Awesome. And Jimmy, what about you?
I've probably been in construction for about 16 years now. I started when I was 16 for an excavation company. I eventually moved into a smaller construction firm doing residential remodels in Newton Wellesley area. And then I moved to Erland about 8 years ago.
Great. Thank you. What is your role at Erland and what's a typical week like for you?
I'm currently a superintendent at Erland. Typical week, up early around 6 a.m. I work till about 4:30, sometimes later. Last couple of sites I've handled mainly the interior of the buildings from roughs through finishes and turn over to the owner. But my current project, I'm in charge of the exterior. Right now, we're working on getting out of the ground with foundations, underground utilities, and part of the building. In other area of the building, we're still doing our PT slabs. Metal stud and wood framing has just started, and we have some rough MEPs being put into place in our garage.
Awesome. And Atiya, what's your role at Erland, and what's a typical week like for you?
So I'm a project manager. I oversee the projects that I'm involved on a day-to-day basis, starting from the buyout process and then just closing out. A typical week for me really depends on what's going on in our construction phase. We're always multitasking and problem solving. So I'm not always at my desk. I'm walking the construction sites with the superintendents to review progress and then coming back to the office to kind of do paperwork. So each week is really dependent on what my workloads look like.
Thanks, Atiya. Jimmy, what's your role at Erland, and what would you say a typical week is like for you?
So I'm a project superintendent. I'm currently overseeing a project up in Andover. So I oversee all day-to-day activities that are on the site, from safety to everything being installed as well. My weekly activities usually change based on what's going on the site as it's going on, items that are being inspected and stuff as far as inspections, but I'm also trying to look forward to make sure that the upcoming work is ready for install so that we can maintain schedule as well.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. Okay, back to Kevin. What is your favorite thing about working in construction?
Every day is just a learning experience. I get the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of great people internally at Erland as well as our trade partners. So each day I enjoy coming to work and getting to talk with those guys and learn from them.
I'm sure Atiya and Jimmy can agree with that one too. But let's hear from Atiya. What's your favorite thing about working in the construction industry?
Yeah, I could not disagree with Kevin, but I would say the best part is seeing kind of what's on the drawings evolve through the construction process and just, every phase of the way, and then seeing kind of the finished product and the client or the users using that space.
Yeah, that's another great answer, Atiya. Love seeing how things come together in this industry. Jimmy, what's your favorite thing?
I actually agree with both. Seeing where the project came from and where it stands, and seeing how some of the challenges that we overcome come to fruition. So I actually do like seeing a plan come into place and how it's executed.
Awesome. Kevin, what about your job motivates you the most?
Kind of related to what they're saying and what we already spoke about. I take a lot of pride in taking a site from an old rundown building and turning it into something that people are going to live in and raise their families in.
Oh, that's a great one. And Atiya, what about you? What about your job motivates you the most?
So just problem solving, being able to find a solution with the team to get to the finish line. We always come against existing conditions or just unforeseen conditions. So working through those with the team to get us to the finish line.
Oh, that's great. And Jimmy, what about you?
I think not letting the guys down next to me is a big part of why I try hard to make sure my job is being done complete and the way it should be. They can't do their job if I'm slacking on my job. So me not being the weak link motivates me to do my best job. I want to make sure that people can go home safe at the end of the day.
Definitely. We're all about camaraderie and definitely all about safety here at Erland. So those were great answers. Kevin, what are you likely to be doing on a Saturday?
If I'm not working on site, I'm hanging out with my wife and my son. He's 4.5 months old and he's growing really fast. So I try to spend as much time as possible with him just so I don't miss anything.
Very nice. And Atiya, what about you?
On Saturdays, I'm catching up on errands, just doing small projects at home. I just moved back into my parents' home. It's an older home, so it's just there's something to do every weekend. And then just meeting up with family and friends.
Great. And Jimmy, what about you? What are you likely to be doing on a Saturday?
If I'm not at work, I'm usually hanging out with my son during the summer. If I can, I'd like to get out and go golfing, but mostly just hanging out with the family is what I usually do.
Kevin, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
I want to continue to grow my role as a superintendent, leading into becoming a project superintendent next 3 to 5 years. And my wife and I, we just bought a home and moving with plenty of room, so hopefully we continue to grow our family into it.
Oh, that's great. And Atiya, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
As of right now, I still see myself in the construction industry, just growing, maybe taking on more responsibilities, but I'd also like to travel more just around the world.
I can totally see that in your future, Atiya. And Jimmy, what about you? Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Hopefully doing what I'm doing now, running work and working for Erland as a lead superintendent at home, growing my family, as Kev said, and kind of just living life right now.
Awesome. All right, back to Kevin for the hard questions here. No, I'm just kidding. If there's anything you could go back and do differently, what would it be and why?
I try not to look backwards too much, but if I had to pick something, it would probably be going to school for construction management just to have that initial leg up as I entered the industry.
Great. And Atiya, what about you? If there's anything you could go back and do differently, what would it be and why?
So this was a tough question. I don't think I would do anything differently because I've learned from the past and it just kind of helped me grow and become who I am today. And I feel like those challenges you kind of have to go through to grow as a person. So I don't really have something I would change.
Thanks, Atiya. And Jimmy, if there's anything you could go back and do differently, what would it be?
Maybe attend a state school so I wouldn't have so many school loans. But other than that, I'm happy with where I am and I can't really complain. So there's not much I would really change about where I am or what I did.
I think a lot of listeners could probably relate to that, Jimmy. I know I can.
Yeah, out of state school wasn't the smartest as financially.
No.
Yeah, you had fun, Jimmy.
Expensive fun.
Okay, so last question we're on here. Kevin, what is some advice you could offer to an individual just getting started in the AEC industry?
Just don't be afraid to ask questions. There's a lot going into these buildings and a lot to take in. There's a ton of experience on site from the superintendents to the tradesmen we work with. And I've always found that they're more than willing to help educate those who are asking questions and putting in the effort.
Oh, that's a great point. Atiya, what about you? What's some advice you could offer?
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. So I'd say be open. There's so much to learn and you learn from your peers. So just always in that work environment, have your ears open, learn from others. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and because you're learning from those mistakes.
Very true. And Jimmy, what about you? What's some advice you could offer?
I think the advice that I would say is that, this industry can really be anything you want it to be. Your career path can go whichever direction you want it to go. But really, the more you put into it, the more rewarding that this career path could be for whoever is interested in being in it, whether it be office or field role. There's always somewhere to grow and always something to learn.
That's very true. I mean, just looking at each one of you and your roles at Erland and how they've grown since you've been here, I can definitely say that getting into this industry, there's definitely a career path where if you want it, you can take it. So that's great advice. Well, it's been great having you on this month's podcast. Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for today's Tried and Blue. We hope you join us next time for another exciting sit down with Erland team members and even maybe some special guests. Keep checking our website to tune in.